Hi, I'm Eleanor and I work at Hastings Museum and Art Gallery. If you've been to the museum in the holidays, you'll know we like making things. But while the museum is closed, I thought I'd show you some things you can make at home. Over the next few weeks, I'm going to be showing you how to make some Christmas decorations, some simple presents and some yummy Christmas food. But in this video, I'm going to go through 3 different ways to make your own Christmas cards. The first idea I'd like to share are these smiley snowmen. This design works better with card if you have some, but try with thick paper if you don't and see how you get on. You need to cut a piece of A4 card into 3 strips, and you can make a card from each strip. So take your piece of card and fold it in half. And then you need to fold the end back on itself. So what you end up with is a zigzag of card or paper that looks a bit like an M when you stand it up, and it's got 4 sections. Then you need to draw the basic shape of your snowman on the final section on one side of your zigzag. There are a couple of things you need to make sure. First is that your snowman has a flat bottom, because otherwise he won't be able to stand up. And the second is that the body of the snowman needs to go all the way to the fold, so that when you open up the card, you have 4 connected snowmen. You might need somebody to give you a hand because it can be quite tricky to cut through all of the layers around the snowman at the same time. Now it's time to start decorating your snowmen. So I have just drawn on eyes and noses and mouths, but you can do it by cutting shapes out of other bits of paper and things and gluing them on if you prefer. You can also give them scarves, buttons. I've even given one of mine a jumper, and you can use extra paper or card to make them hats. So I've made a bobble hat for one of mine. If that seems a bit fiddly, but you really like the snowman idea, why not try something like this? All you need to do is draw or cut out the shapes of the eyes, nose and mouth and stick them on a basic white card, because the white card itself becomes the face of the snowman. If you'd like to have a go at making the card with the snowman's face on it, or either of the ideas I'm about to show you in a minute, this is how you make your basic Christmas card shape. If you're using paper, it can be a bit floppy, so you need to fold it twice to make it stronger. Fold your sheet of paper in half and then in half again, and then it's ready to decorate. If you've got any sheets of A4 card at home, you can cut a sheet in half, and then from that you can make 2 Christmas cards that just need to be folded once. If there's something you want to include on your card, but you're finding it hard to draw, have a look at home to see if there are any pictures, books or magazines that would help you to work out how to draw it. If you have internet access, you could try doing a search for a simple drawing or outline on a phone or computer. If you're using a phone, take a screenshot and save it to your pictures. That way you won't accidentally navigate away to something else entirely. Turn the screen brightness up to maximum and you should be able to see the picture through a sheet of paper. And then it's a bit fiddly, but you need to hold the paper still without your fingers touching the screen, because that will make the picture change. Then take a pencil and trace the outline of the image on the paper, and then you can fill in the detail afterwards. To make these button bauble cards, you'll need to ask whether there are any buttons at home that you're allowed to use. If there are, but they're boring colours, you might want to try colouring them with a Sharpie or some paint before you stick them to the card. What I've done is imagine that my button baubles are hanging from a branch or from the mantelpiece, and I've placed them to give the idea that the big buttons are nearer to you and the little buttons are further away. Once you're happy with where you want to put them, stick them onto the card with glue or double-sided tape. The next stage is to make it look like they're hanging from string. So if you use a ruler and try and make it so that the string that's coming down lines up with the middle of the button. And by doing that, it'll look natural that the button is hanging from the string. Then you can just draw a little bow to show where it's tied on. If you want to, you can write a message on the bottom, something like Merry Christmas. If you look at the two photos on this page though, you'll see that the final card that I made isn't as tall as the one in the photo at the top that I took while I was still making it. And that was because I wrote Merry Christmas along the bottom of my card and then realised that I'd left the R out of Christmas. So I just cut that bit off and I've made a long thin card instead. So if you go wrong, don't worry, there's usually a way of fixing it. This way of making cards does work best on card or thick paper because the buttons can be quite heavy and you don't want your card to fall over. If you'd like to make the bauble card but you don't have any buttons, there are a couple of other ways you can do it. First, have a look at home for any objects that have a flat surface that makes an interesting bauble shape if you used it to print the shape on the card with some paint. But make sure you ask before you use anything, because I don't want you to get in trouble. Another way to do it would be to cut bauble shapes from wrapping paper and tin foil, or sweet wrappers from things like Quality Street or roses that are nice and shiny and bright coloured. So you just cut the shapes out and glue them on. If you like the idea of using buttons and you've got some, but you don't really want to do the baubles, you could try doing this card instead. Ho, ho, ho! So this kind of card uses simple black and white to make pictures of snow falling at night. It's about making pictures from shapes rather than drawing lots of detail. And you need to think about what you're cutting away and what you're leaving. It's a bit like if you've ever done lino printing at school. It's a good idea to draw out your design in pencil first and start with a simple idea to see how it works. So this first version uses black paper or card to start making a nighttime scene. And then white pieces of paper are cut out and added to make the scenery or shapes. In this card, I've made it so that the road gets wider as it gets nearer to you to give a sense of perspective. And because I'm not very good at drawing snowmen, I've just made a silhouette, a cutout of a snowman that sits on the bottom of the picture. Then I just used a silver pen to add the snow to the sky. There is a second and messier way to try out this idea. You'll need to start with a piece of white card or paper to make your basic card, and then we're going to make a window by cutting the window panes out of black paper. The idea is that you're in a room and you're looking out into the night sky where the snow is falling. Before you cut the windows, the 4 pieces for the windows out of the black paper though, we're going to need some snow. This is where it gets messy, so please ask for some big sheets of newspaper and cover everything nearby to where you're going to be working on your black piece of paper. You need to ask a grown-up for an old toothbrush and a very, very small amount of white paint. What you need to do is dip the toothbrush in the paint and use it to flick the paint onto your black card so it looks like falling snow. I found if you run your thumb along the brush towards you, that makes the flecks of paint fly away from you, and then you get this lovely effect of the snow falling on the black paper. Wait until your snowy black paper has dried and then you can cut the 4 rectangles out to make the panes of the window and stick them onto your card. That's the very basic idea, but then you can use your imagination to make the card more interesting. You can put a message along the bottom, like I have here with Let It Snow, or you can add some more details that help to make it clear that you're in a nice warm room looking out of the window as the snow is falling. That might be adding a lamp or some furniture, or putting some curtains on the window. I decided to include this ginger cat who's sitting on the windowsill looking out at the snow. And you remember that top tip about tracing things off your phone? That's how I got the cat shape. We'd love to see what you make and how you adapt the ideas in the video. You can share your work with us online on Facebook, Instagram or Twitter by using #FestiveMakes. That's it for today, but join me next week when we'll be looking at Christmas decorations.